Hello, everyone. I see some of you guys are already online. Hi, Becky. Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to my live stream. We're going to talk about high fat carnivore and FAQs. So I printed out directly from my direct messages on Instagram a bunch of high fat carnivore diet questions. I'm going to talk about them in this live. And so if you're online, let me know where you're watching from. If you're watching the replay, please tell me where you're watching from. I'm going to go through some of these questions first, and then I will take questions from you guys watching the live stream about high fat carnivore diet. So quick little housekeeping stuff. Obviously, you guys know I'm not any type of medical professional. Just giving you guys my experience. This whole channel is just me basically like vlogging, blogging, whatever you want to call it, and telling you guys my experience with carnivore, high fat carnivore, all that stuff. Canton, Georgia, South Dakota, awesome, UK. And somebody is in, I'll highlight some of these. I'm in Stephanie's group with you, yay. So I'm pretty sure I linked, hi there. I love, this is so fun for me. I love these live streams. Sydney, Australia, North Carolina, Santa Fe. Awesome, awesome. Got Becky online. She is an awesome friend. So I did link in this description Stephanie's keto group because this is where all this is coming from. Like I started doing high fat carnivore February because I started having some issues that I've talked about in a lot of other videos. And I wanted to stay carnivore because it's been so amazing for my brain, for my body, joints, all that stuff. So I wanted to stick with carnivore. And so Steph has helped me do that. So she has a $15 a month keto group. If you are wanting some help, but you can't pay for a consultation, I think that that's a wonderful thing to do is join her keto group. I'm in there and I'm constantly learning. Hello. Oh, hey, Grace. Grace is in Seattle. We got Texas, California, Maryland, Arkansas. Awesome. So thank you guys for tuning in. One other little thing, those of you watching the replay, I've been getting a ton of comments lately that I guess YouTube is putting a ton more ads on my videos. This is not something I'm doing on purpose. I think it's just happening because of this whole situation. I don't even want to mention it because I don't want my video to get screwed with. Oh, I got somebody from Greece. Awesome. But yeah, so I apologize for that. I'm trying to get to the bottom of that. Because I'm getting a ton of comments about all the ads, and I'm just literally convinced that YouTube's putting extra ads on right now. They're taking advantage of this whole situation. So I don't appreciate it. Trying to get to the bottom of it. We've got Greece. Yeah, and then I've got some people saying Stephanie's group is amazing. Lindsay says it's an amazing group and great value. I agree. I mean, I'm in there just to learn. She's coaching me. We talk pretty much every single day. We've got San Diego, Romania. And so it's just an amazing value. So, all right. I know the people on the replay are like, all right, quit being spastic. But I just have so much fun on these live streams. It's something I've been doing every week now for the last like 6 weeks or so, maybe even longer than that. So I love interacting with you guys, seeing where you're from. It's so fun. So, all right, let me get into some of these questions. I'm going to answer these first. And then if you guys have questions, then you can jump in and ask me questions. So this one's good. I'll start with this one. these are in no particular order. I've been kind of like running around all day and I literally printed them off, haven't even like looked through them. So we'll see how this goes. First question is, which is the reason because you are eating high fat? So why am I eating high fat? So I kind of mentioned that in the very beginning. I was doing carnivore, had so many great benefits, depression, anxiety, which has been lifelong for me, totally gone. And Lindsay, I'll get to your question about how much fat I'm eating. So all that stuff was gone, aches and pains gone, inflammation, joint pain, all this stuff was gone, but I was running into other issues such as not getting my cycle, which is a problem. And it had kind of started getting a little tiny bit wonky before I started carnivore. I think I was late like once and I was like, oh, that's weird. And then when I started carnivore and doing a really high protein version of carnivore, I started missing cycles. And I was like, this is not good. And that was just one of many symptoms. I was waking up a lot at night. My blood sugar was running high for someone who wasn't eating carbohydrate. So that's why I switched over. And since going on high fat carnivore, if you're new around here, haven't heard this before, my cycles, I've gotten 4 on time. I've ovulated also, because some people will have a cycle and they won't ovulate. So you do have to go that extra step and test your ovulation. I put all the test kits below that I have used to check my hormones. I've used Let's Get Checked to keep checking in with my hormones, keep checking in with my kidneys, thyroid, yeah, all that stuff. I'll answer this one really quick because this is one I get a lot. Hello, I'm jumping all around the place. I've been trying to get thymus after watching your video. Wow, is it hard to get here in the UK? And I do hear that a lot about Europe, to be honest with you guys. I hear Europe and other places it's hard to get thymus. Now here in the US, this is what I suggest people do is there's a website called www.eatwild.com. I don't know if they have an equivalent version of that in the UK, but I really, really, really encourage people to hook up with a farmer. And a lot of times, what will happen is that they will throw away thymus, they throw away kidneys, they throw away brains, they throw a lot of stuff away. Now that it's kind of getting more, I know they don't throw away liver anymore because it's kind of getting more popular, but they'll throw away all kinds of organs. A lot of farmers do. And so you can literally call them, develop a relationship with them. They'll give them to you like for really cheap. So I don't know, Carnivorous Beast, if that is, I feel funny saying that, Carnivorous Beast. I don't know if that's an option for you over in the UK to, I don't know how things work over there. If you can find a farm or hook up with them, because I think they throw thymus away a lot. And thymus is something that I eat a lot now. I really enjoy it. It continues to help me with those histamine issues. It's filling, it's delicious. So I love my thymus. My daughter eats it. My husband, who is like anti-organ meats, like freaked out by organ meats, he eats it. So it's just a really, really great organ. Oh, so this is interesting. I've tried to get thymus from my local beef guy at the farmer's market, and he says his processor won't save the thymus. Well, that's a bummer. I'm sure because I've talked to farmers here in Georgia who will save the thymus for you if you ask them. So I think it's just a matter of finding the right one. And that www.eatwild.com is such a great resource because there were like tons of farms that I didn't even know about that were close by to me. So check that resource out. Okay. So here's my next IG question. I can't remember if you said specifically or not, are you doing 200 grams of fat or lower? And that goes back to this question I got about how much fat I'm eating. I'm still doing right around 200 grams of fat. Now I went through, that's my first page. I went through kind of I don't know if you want to call it a refeed, but a time period where I was very hungry. I was very hungry. I was very stressed out because I was kind of at home with the family with this whole situation. And so I ate a lot more than 200 grams of fat for a good month and a half. And I was probably eating 300 or 400 grams of fat per day, like literally. Still keeping my protein on the lower range, between like 50 and 60 grams of protein. I'm 5'8". So it's, I don't take those as macros to do. Don't copy me. Because again, I did really, really super, super high fat. I had to get my hormones functioning properly again. That's when I started getting my cycle again. Again, I've had 4 cycles in a row. So now Steph and I are kind of working together. I'm doing like extensive journaling for her. Like when I wake up, am I hungry? What do I eat for breakfast? After I eat breakfast, how long does it take again before I'm hungry? How's my mood? Am I in a bad mood? And I'm taking my blood glucose and my ketones every single morning. So that's the level of intensity I'm kind of working through this stuff with right now. So when I first started doing high fat carnivore, I was hitting a minimum of 200 grams per day. And then I was just really, really hungry. And Steph is like, eat, you need to eat. Your body needs to eat. You've been malnourished. So I was eating, I ate the fat. And yeah, I put on some weight. And that's okay, because I think it will come off. It's starting to come off, starting to trend downward. but I was able to get my hormones back. And I have a lot of metabolic damage. So I have been a chronic dieter since I can remember. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys out there watching have had this experience, but I started going on extreme diets when I was a kid. You know, my parents took me to Weight Watchers because I was really overweight as a child. And so they were just trying to do their best. I'm not mad at them over it. I just feel like they're just trying to help me because they don't want their kid to be made fun of, because I got bullied and made fun of a lot. I would come home crying every day. It was awful. It was like being a kid and being a teenager was not fun for me at all. So I've been dieting since I was a kid. You know, cabbage soup diet I did when I was like 17. Like, what 17-year-old does a cabbage soup diet? Do y'all even know? Right? I'm curious, those of you watching and watching the replay too, if you've ever heard of or done cabbage soup diet, like write cabbage in the comments. I'm curious. So me kind of doing a higher fat was like a quicker way for me to get my metabolism to heal, to get my body to heal. And so a true testament is that I hadn't had a regular cycle in a really long time, like almost 2 years, like every month ovulating, all that. And now it's been 4 months of that. And this is a question, would like you to talk about sex drive. That's a great thing, because that finally started coming back for me. I've talked about this in previous videos, but okay, here comes the cabbages. I'm getting all the cabbages. Yeah, everyone's all about the cabbage. Yeah, so y'all know what I'm talking about. That's some awful stuff. Cabbage soup diet. Ugh, horrible. Just terrible. Don't recommend. Yeah. And this is, yeah, chronic stress also makes it hard to lose weight. This is another thing. I have a daughter, you guys know, she is non-speaking autistic, and it is a stressful situation. And that's something I live with, chronic stress. She woke up, now she's been doing amazing. And she and I are actually going to do a video together for this channel, because our letterboarding therapist is back. And I'll read you guys. I know I'm jumping all over the place. I was going to save this, but I put it on my Instagram this morning. I did a post about her, and it's doing really well. For those of you not on Instagram, let's see. Here's the post of her. This is her. Sorry, I'm trying not to get the light. That's her on her letterboard, right? That's what it looks like. She's been keto for 90 days, and she's doing a high-fat version. I'm still getting the cabbage comments. I love it. Screw cabbage soup diet. Bleh. Okay, and this is what she said. We finally got to ask her on the boards yesterday. She spells letter by letter this stuff, what she thinks of keto after 90 days. She says, Mom has me on a new food schedule. I can only notice great changes, like my body hurts less. For me, I notice how a great body leads to great emotions. For example, I don't ache as much. So, and then she went on and kind of spelled that she wants to do a longer video. So we're going to do like a whole Q&A, her and I, with the letterboards, and we're going to talk about her experience with keto. So that video will come out maybe over the weekend, early next week. But yeah, Laura was saying chronic stress makes it hard to lose weight. Abso-freaking-lutely. This is why I'm a yoga teacher. This is why I meditate every day, 20 minutes, twice a day. I've already done both my meditations for the day. I know I come on here and talk about carnivore and keto and high fat and all that being great for your body, but you got to take care of the stress also. So there's my little tangent there. Let me get to some of these more questions. Okay. Did you ever find that you need to increase your volume of food because extra fat still isn't enough? Yeah, I kind of answered that, right? Like I had to up my fat a lot because I was really hungry. There was a lot of extra stress happening with my daughter, with us just all being home, her not having her schedule. This is what she said, and I put it on. I know I'm talking a lot about my daughter today. She is like the reason that I do all of this. She's the reason I do the carnivore diet. She's the reason why I teach yoga. Like she's just the reason for so many things. But we got to ask her thoughts about quarantine and the whole situation. And I put this on her Instagram page. So she has an Instagram page too, which I tagged on my my Instagram. It's alexis.s.voice if you want to go follow her. And she has her own YouTube channel too. And we said, what are your thoughts? What were your thoughts? What was going on with you? Because she was really, you know, like she doesn't speak and she has an iPad for basic stuff. I can get out yeses and nos on the letterboard, but I can't get sense of stuff out. So she said, I did not understand. I missed everyone. I thought I would not see others again. I was like, oh my God, that just freaking breaks my heart that she didn't understand. And so that's my chronic stress. And like I said, she's doing great, but like she woke up at 3 a.m. last night and never went back to sleep. Now her sleep has been amazing since I added thymus in to her diet, but she also has some ear tubes in that need to come out. I think that she doesn't have an infection, but she was messing with her ear this morning. And I think the ear tubes need to come out. So that's my next little plan here. Sorry for my little tangent about my daughter. Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you so much. So Kathleen says, good day. Love that you speak about your daughter. So many can learn from what you and she are doing. Thank you. She is the light of my life. She is my everything. Okay. Your next question. Did you lose weight, or is higher protein better for losing more weight? Now my weight is starting to trend downward. I will say that. And Stephanie tells me it's going to just come, but I have to heal my metabolism first. And eating a high protein, I gave it the good old try, did that for a solid year, and I did not lose weight. In fact, I started gaining weight. My blood sugars were higher. They were trending in the 90s and 100s. I was not in ketosis. I was waking up at night. So I did not lose weight on super high protein. And this is one thing I want to clear up about high protein, because I had Dr. Gabrielle Lyon on a live stream a couple weeks ago, and people were drilling her about protein, drilling her. And she's a very big advocate for high protein, which, yes, when I did high protein with carbs, I had no problem. I was hungry all the damn time. Like my blood sugar wouldn't regulate because I was eating the carbs. But I had no problem eating 140, 150, 160 grams of protein per day. I had no problem with it. My kidneys were great. Blood work was great. No problem. But when I try to do a zero carb high protein, that's not what Dr. Lyon is talking about. A lot of these studies that people are putting out, saying high protein is great for you, it's not going to cause problems, it's not going to hurt your kidneys. No, high protein, when you pair it with carbohydrate, for most people, it's going to be great. It's not going to cause a problem. However, for me, when I tried to do a zero carb high protein and I was not in ketosis, I was in more of a glucose metabolism rather than a ketotic metabolism, it started to wreak havoc on my body. So I want to let people know I'm not against eating super high protein, but for me, when if I'm going to do that, I got to eat carbs with it. And I am carb intolerant. Carbs don't do good things for me, so that's off the table. When you're in a ketone burning metabolism, it's muscle sparing. So you're not going to lose a ton of muscle. Y'all just go to Stephanie's channel. She's done all of her videos over the last 10 years in a sports bra and a tank top, and she's got tons of muscle, ridiculous amounts of muscle. She eats that, around 60 grams, give or take, of protein per day. So that's it. Let me see some of these questions before I jump back into these. Okay, this is a good one. When you started a higher fat diet, did you need to take ox bile salts? If so, how did you take them and when did you know how to stop? So I never had to take ox bile. Ox bile is if you have gallbladder stuff. And this is why I tell people to go join that $15 a month keto group, because you can ask questions like that in there and she can tell you if it's gallbladder or if it's leaky gut, because they're similar. The symptoms are similar. When I first started doing high fat, I took the HCl for stomach acid, speaking of stomach acid, and then I just do a little burp. That was cute. But I had to take the HCl. I took it with dinner. I just took one pill with dinner. And I had to, because this is a little TMI, but I had loose stools for about 6 weeks. And then after 6 weeks, I was still taking the HCl. I stopped having the loose stools. And so I kept on the HCl for another week, just thinking, I'll just take it. Everything was normal. My stools were not floating. If your stools are floating, that's more than likely gallbladder. You do need the ox bile. So that's more of a stuff question. If you're having right side pain, if you're getting nauseous, which I have a question about nausea here that I'll get to in a minute. But yeah, and Steph recommends if you're doing the ox bile to just take the dose that's on the bottle, just try that out, see if it helps. And then again, you can search in her group for questions on that, but there's a difference between low stomach acid and gallbladder pain. Gallbladder, you're usually also going to get nauseous. You'll have a loose stools, and you can also, some people get the right side pain. That's a gallbladder. So I hope that was helpful. Let's see. Steph recommends around 55 grams for women. Is that what you're doing? Give or take. Yeah. I mean, it's give or take. The fat is what I increase or decrease, really, depending on if I'm really hungry or what time of the month it is. That's kind of, the fat is the lever that I change up and down. Let's see. And this is one. Okay. I think cold tallow is making me bloated. What do I do if I don't have access to raw fat? That's a rough one. I mean, I would say butter, if you can tolerate butter. I don't know where you wouldn't, she's primal European. So I think she's in Europe. So I guess for whatever reason, it's harder to get organ meats in Europe. I would really recommend butter, if you can get butter, if you can't tolerate like cold tallow or like a beef suet. I haven't really heard, I have heard a couple people not being able to handle the beef suet, but yeah, I hope that helps. I don't know if you're watching or not, Primal European. And this other person says, how come I feel nauseous from eating certain fats? Tends to be just cooked, not raw. And yeah, I'm the same way. I don't do the cooked fats. All the fats that I eat are raw. I eat raw beef suet, because everyone's always like, how do you eat your beef suet? I eat it totally raw. Now, my friend Becky, I'll highlight her. She has a YouTube channel too. So y'all need to go check out her YouTube channel. And she's a carnivore coach, and she does a high fat carnivore. And I've known her for like at least a year and a half. She's amazing. I love Becky. But Becky puts her suet in the air fryer. Now, I don't do that because it does render out some of the fat. But I just eat the suet raw. I also eat Iberico pork fat. I eat that raw right out of the freezer. So that's, if I try to do like a liquid fat, it will make me nauseous every single time. So yeah. And Becky says, I like my suet warm, but not crispy. Yeah, I hear you. Let me see some of these. I gave your muffins a go last week, but they didn't turn out well. I realized I accidentally used bicarbonate of soda instead of baking powder. I use baking powder. I think I actually, when I did the Facebook post, so I'm sorry for those of you guys who follow me on Facebook, I think I accidentally even wrote baking soda. So you want to use baking powder. And technically they're not carnivore, because I had some people that were like, I went into a Facebook group and said that I was eating your muffins, and I got killed because they were like, oh, that's not real carnivore food. And they like called the carnivore police, and they showed up with, I don't know what, a bunch of ribeyes, and put the person in jail. Just kidding. Anyway, yeah, it's baking powder, 55 grams total protein. Okay, yeah, no, 55 grams for the day total. Let's see. How often do you eat? I've heard so much conflicting information on this topic. I've been doing intermittent fasting for 1.5 years, but recently lost my cycle with carnivore plus kidney issues. Yeah. Yeah. So the thing is, I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, with me losing my cycle. It could have been a lot of fasting I was doing. It could have been the high protein. All I know is the high protein wasn't working for me. It gave me some other issues. It gave me the kidney issues, which is a lot of times an electrolyte issue. So it's not like you eat the high protein, it wrecks your kidneys. It's a lot of times it's really hard to keep your electrolytes balanced when you're eating strict carnivore. And a lot of people say, oh, no, it's not. You don't need electrolytes. I've heard people, long-term carnivores, say you don't need electrolytes. I really am starting to think, the more I stick around, that a lot of these long-term carnivores are like outliers. There's like 10 of them. There's not hundreds of them. There's like 10 of them. And I mean, no disrespect. I love and respect a lot of them, know them, talk to them. But I'm starting to think that they're kind of like outliers, that you do need electrolytes. I can't tell you how many DMs I get on Instagram of people. I had one just a couple days ago from a girl said she had gone to the emergency room eating strict carnivore and not doing electrolytes, went to the emergency room. They said it was dehydration. She got very sick. So it's not something to play around with. Okay, so that's that. Let me see if I have any. I'm getting to most of these. Let me look at these. Oh, I haven't even answered that question. I'm sorry. Let me put it back up here, Franny. So for me, because I am really working hard to heal my metabolism, like I said, years of chronic dieting. I'm 40. I just turned 41 last week on Thursday. Years of chronic dieting. I have just really screwed myself up. I eat first thing when I wake up, like boom, wake up, a little bit of fat, then I go meditate, do my meditation, and then I'll eat a full breakfast. But I always eat first thing in the morning. Then usually I'm not hungry till lunchtime. I'll eat lunch. Usually I'm not hungry until dinner, then I eat dinner. So I eat 3 times a day. And I know that a lot of people in carnivore, in keto space, they encourage intermittent fasting and short eating windows and blah, blah, blah. And I did all that and it just screwed me up even worse. You know, like I mentioned, I have a lot of chronic stress in my life. So, you know, you got to be careful. You got to consider your life. We talk about, oh, the cave people did this, the cave people did that. The cave people didn't have damn cell phones. Like, they didn't have these things beeping and going off at them. They didn't drive cars. They didn't have pollution. They didn't stay indoors. They didn't, like, it's not an apples to apples argument of like the cave people didn't eat for hours at a time. Okay, but they didn't have chronic stress the way that we do. So that's my little take on that. But that's how often I eat every single day. Let's see. And this is what Becky says. Save the render tallow for other things, from ice cream to skincare. All right, Becky, we need to get your tallow ice cream recipe. We need to get that. We really need to get that. I just got some Iberico pork fat. It's a solid hunk. How do you deal with it? Do you thaw it and break it apart and then cut it and refreeze? Yes, that's exactly what I do, Diane. When I get that pork fat, I cut it up and then I portion it into bags. So I keep the bags in my freezer when I'm ready to eat it. When you cut it up, it does like go back together. So that's why I have it portioned out in bags in my freezer. So there's less that I have to do. But I just take a big old knife and a cutting board and just like chop it. And then I have a little food scale. I weigh it out. Like I usually will eat like 1 ounce at a time, sometimes more if I'm hungry. But that is typically what I do. Let's see. How do we figure out the right electrolytes? Yeah, that's a good question, Laura. That's another thing that's really individual. And it can be a lot more challenging on carnivore. Since I had a lot of electrolyte issues, I do now supplement with potassium citrate. And you have to be careful with that. You don't want to do too much potassium citrate. Some people are intolerant to potassium citrate. That's why Steph stopped doing carnivore. Stephanie, keto person who I've been talking about, she did carnivore for like 9 months, started having electrolyte issues. And so she added in an avocado. So she's basically now carnivore with avocado. So I hope that helps. It's, you know, and I have videos about it on this channel where I've talked about it. And again, you can join her keto group for like $15 a month and she'll show you how to do electrolytes. She'll talk about it. She has videos on her YouTube channel also about electrolytes. So that's a good resource if you don't want to join the group. Yeah, Dr. Ted Naiman recommends 1 gram of protein per pound of goal weight. But Dr. Ted Naiman doesn't do carnivore. Like, he doesn't do carnivore. He does like a low carb, but he's adding in vegetables. He's adding in other things. He's not carnivore. He's not zero carb. So yeah, like I said, you can eat super high protein and do great, if you know, but if you're just eating it alone, that's where I see the problems coming in. So I hope that helps clear some of that up. I talked about it a little bit earlier. Let's see, do you count the macros of the meat broth that seems to have a decent amount of protein? I mean, that's on Carb Manager. You know, it's like, I haven't had my meat broth analyzed by a lab, so I don't really know how much protein it has in it, to be honest with you. It may be like 5 grams or so, and I only drink like 1 cup a day. So I don't factor that into my total protein amount. That's just what I do. And I'm still in ketosis with the low blood glucose and having all those benefits of my hormones, getting back on track. Let me look at some of these. Let's see. Yes, I really lowered my potassium too. Yeah, potassium is important. There's a sodium potassium pump in the body. You have to balance your sodium with your potassium. I had super, super low potassium. Yeah. Yeah. Tadema promotes the PE diet. So that is not carnivore. It's not carnivore. Let's see. If you're trying to gain weight, do you think higher protein is okay with higher fat? Watch your electrolytes, I would say. And you have to be super, super active because you want your body to like burn that glucose up. And I would ask Steph about that too. I think she would probably say, hell no. I don't really know enough to answer that question. I haven't seen it. Everybody always wants to lose weight that comes to me. But I would just up your fat. I mean, I gained weight by eating a lot of extra fat. And I wasn't trying to gain weight. I just did. Okay. Is it okay? Let me look at some of these questions. Some of these are like, is it okay to eat tomatoes or mushrooms? Not if you're on carnivore, just for the taste of it. I mean, eat whatever you want. I get questions like that all the time. Like, can I eat XYZ? You can eat whatever you want. But if you're doing carnivore, no. This is, how do you get enough fat in with OMAD, or do you eat multiple? I kind of already answered that. I don't do OMAD. I don't like OMAD. Like I said, all the intermittent fasting and fasting, my body did not like it. It was burning out my adrenals. It was making me not feel good. My blood sugar, none of that stuff would regulate. So I do not recommend OMAD. And then this is another, people ask me this all the time. Intermittent fasting, yes or no for weight loss? I mean, it's like a case by case basis. For me, no, I'm not doing it anymore. And this is what I was talking to Steph about this morning, because like I said, her and I talk every single day pretty much. This is what happened with me on carnivore. Oh, I'm feeling good. Let me try intermittent fasting, right? I'm not losing weight fast enough. Let me try intermittent fasting. And so I tried to do it to help myself lose weight. Okay, intermittent fasting's not working fast enough. Let me do extended fasting. Let me start doing these 72-hour, 36-hour, 6.5-day fasting, because I was impatient. So I was trying to use all these tools, and my body just like kind of shat the bed. That wasn't a total curse word, right? Okay, YouTube, don't take me down. But my body just totally crashed and this is what I've done. This is my pattern, of like, let me do this diet. Let me, like we talked about in the very beginning, I did cabbage soup diet at 17. Those of you who don't know what that is, you're like making this disgusting soup and you eat it all day instead of like actual food. So you're just eating cabbage soup that tastes like crap. And yeah, you lose a bunch of weight. You can lose a bunch of weight on any diet. But what I have done through all this calorie restriction is to damage my metabolism. So now here I am trying to get healthy, trying to heal, getting my cycles back, ovulation back, and all that stuff back on track. And it's taking time. It is taking time. It's not just happening overnight. And I'm just trying to learn how to be happy right now, be good with what's going on right now, and not sit here and be like, well, I'm waiting until I lose weight for my life to get better. Like, I'm done with that kind of thinking and mentality. This is a good question. Which is better, meat or bone broth? I mean, if you have histamine intolerance, you got to do the meat broth. If you have histamine issues, you want to stay away from bone broth. But if you don't, bone broth's great. And that's a good way to get those electrolytes also. Is it okay to use supermarket organic beef stock? Too busy to make beef broth. Are they the same thing? No, I wouldn't. Honestly, anything you can make yourself at home is always going to be better, because you don't know what they're putting in those store-bought beef stocks. I just honestly wouldn't. Let's see. When you eat your egg muffins with your thymus, are you counting one of those as fat? I mean, I mean, thymus is very fatty, and then you're getting the 2 egg yolks with the muffin, so that's fat. But then I'll also add butter to that meal also. So let's see. All right. I'm trying to look at some of these questions, make sure I'm getting I think I got all of these mostly. Yeah, I think I got all these. So if y'all have questions, you can send them to me. I'm watching for them. Let's see. I'm doing high fat carnivore for 3 months. I feel good about it. Have you checked your cholesterol after you start high fat? I have not checked my cholesterol. I'm not worried about my cholesterol. It was already like quote unquote high when I checked it back in January. And my doctor was like, let's recheck it in 6 months. And I was like, let's not. Because I did the CRP, and my CRP was like 0.5 or something. It was like, it's all like a 0, basically. That's your C-reactive protein. I did my blood pressure was low. Like every other health marker was really good. So and it was crazy. Like I got my hair done last week on Friday, and my hairdresser's a vegan. And so I was like, oh God. But she's a great hairdresser, so I'm not gonna like not see her because she's vegan. But she's like talking about people having bad health and like, oh well, this person has high cholesterol, and I was just saying there like, that doesn't mean they have bad health. If they have high cholesterol and a high A1C, that's a problem, okay? But if you have a high cholesterol and a low A1C and a low CRP and a low blood pressure and a good CAC, all that stuff, you know, what has been said about cholesterol is wrong. It's not correct. I need to I had Dr. Stephen Hussey on my YouTube channel. I may break out part of that chat because it was like an hour long, and do like a shorter 10-minute video where he really breaks down the whole cholesterol thing, talks about my numbers in depth. So y'all, if you're watching replay or you're watching live, just put cholesterol in the comments if that's something that you would want to see. Because I know that a lot of other people have talked about this cholesterol thing here in the community. All right, y'all keep asking me questions. I'll be on. I'm going to stay on for another, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. I got to get my daughter. She's at clinic, but this is one. Do you know any keto or carny coaches that specialize in insomnia and sleep disorders? I mean, Steph talks about insomnia and sleep disorders quite a bit in the group. She's, like I said, she's coached people for the last 13 years, and she's kind of seen it all. But when she does her mini consults on Saturday, because I log into the group to watch those, one of the first, okay, good, I'm getting cholesterol comments. One of the first things she talks about is, how's your sleep? That's one of the first questions that she asks people, because before I started the high fat carnivore, my sleep was terrible. Like I would wake up all the time. And when I had the continuous glucose monitor on, I would see that I was having, my blood glucose was going up in my sleep into like the hundreds, which is not really supposed to do that. So, do you have phones in your bed? Do you have your Wi-Fi on at night? Are you getting adequate sunlight? Are your electrolytes balanced? That's another reason why you could be waking up a lot. And this is interesting. When I started 200 grams of fat, my cholesterol dropped a ton. That's interesting. I mean, I could run it. I've got the Let's Get Checked. Like they're one of my sponsors, so I can ask them for a cholesterol test. Let's see. Yes, y'all are wanting the cholesterol video. Okay, I'll try to do that this week. I'll break out like a 10-minute section, because I know y'all probably don't want to watch the whole hour of what I did with Dr. Stephen Hussey specifically about my cholesterol, and I will put that up as a separate video. So, because he breaks that down of like how it's really not bad. It's really not a problem. Can you share about your workout routine? You mentioned in another video it was recommended by Steph so as not to fatigue your adrenals. Yeah. So y'all can go to Stephanie's channel. She's got a few workouts up, but basically the method that I'm doing to work out, I'm doing 7 days a week. So when I asked her, how often should I do this? She's like, every day. And like, so I'm working out every day. She's like, yeah, but you're doing 30 minutes in your living room. And it's time under tension. So I didn't know what that was until I started working with her doing this stuff. So I'm using bands. I'm using 10-pound dumbbells, 8-pound dumbbells. I also have a 15 and a 20 for some things. I have kettlebells. I have a 15-pound and a 20-pound. But essentially, you like pop the weight up and then you pull. It's like a negative, like really, really, really slow negative, right? And then up. So you can do shoulder press like that. You can do bicep curl, like pull it up and then let it go down really, really, really slow. So that's pretty much my workout. So it's full body workout. Yeah, so that's basically what I'm doing for my workouts. I'm doing that 7 days a week. So I hope that answers that question. Why do I have a severe histamine reaction to quality raw beef suet? I develop symptoms the second I put it in my mouth, currently in the process of healing SIBO and can't tolerate cooked beef fat. Yeah, so I mentioned that a little bit ago that I am now, I think because it's getting more popular, seeing some people are having a reaction to the raw beef suet. I think that sometimes there is still some meat attached to it. So I think that the meat, and this is just my theory because I don't really know, to be honest with you. I think sometimes that meat could have bacteria on it that's causing you to react. So you may be someone who needs to, render it down and put it in the fridge, see if you can tolerate it that way. And then like that pork fat is what I use that doesn't give me any, I don't have any reaction to suet. I can eat suet all day. It's so good. But pork fat or beef fat, just really cutting it away, making sure there's no meat attached to it. Maybe pop that in your freezer for a couple weeks or so. I know a couple weeks sounds like a long time, but that's kind of what I would recommend, is just making sure there's zero meat attached to it. Because the suet that I get does have little bits of meat attached to it. And I just eat it. I don't even care. It doesn't bother me. Let's see. Good questions. So CAC is like a coronary, it's like a calcium. It's basically not a doctor, not an expert here. Google it. Google is your friend here, but it basically shows the amount of plaque in your arteries. So I know Sean Baker just had one and his CAC was like really, really good. I know that Paul Saladino had one recently, but yeah, Google is your friend. But it is an important, if you're worried, if you have high cholesterol and you're really, really worried, you can get a CAC. It's a good one. And then what should I eat at each meal to lose weight? It's going to be different for everyone. That's why I recommend either getting a consult or working with a coach, or, Becky, who's on here. I don't know if she's still on here. She is a carnivore coach and she does super high fat carnivore. So I would recommend working with someone to figure out what's going to work best for your body. Because there's no like, eat this, lose weight. That's not that how it works. If you want it to be sustainable, if you want it to not cause metabolic damage, if I'm saying it's not cut and dry. This is a good question. Have you ever compared Let's Get Checked results with regular blood tests, draw tests to compare how they relate? Yes. So when I first started, Let's Get Checked actually reached out to me in January, right after I had a ton of blood work done. They reached out to me and they were like, and Let's Get Checked, you guys, if you want to check them out, I have a ton of links of theirs in the information section below this video. I still use them. But I was like, and my husband's in the lab business. He's been in the lab business for the last 12 years. I think he's been in the lab business now, and he does anatomical pathology, blood, he's like deep in the lab business for a private lab that runs out of Texas. So I ran everything through him. I had him take a look at it because if I'm going to work with somebody, if I'm going to recommend their product and their service, I want to make sure it's quality. I don't want to you guys have no idea. I get emails all day long. I get DMs all the time from people who want me to promote their stuff and they want me to, and I'm like, no, why would I do that? That has nothing to do with, so I'm super picky about who I work with. But when I did the Let's Get Checked, I was like, okay, how many free vouchers can you give me? Because I just got blood work run and I want to compare it with what I just got run. And so within a 2-week period of getting my blood work run from my doctor, from my gynecologist, where they took 10 vials of blood or something crazy, I ran about 7 tests that were just the same as what I got at my gynecologist. And they were all very, very similar range. So I have actually done kind of that biohack experiment on myself. So I think that it is a reputable thing to do. Thank you, Alexander. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Coronary artery calcium score. I was going to tell you if you need to be worried about your arteries being clogged up from fat, which, let's just be honest here, I do think seed oils are bad and can be very harmful to your body. But I don't think if you eat a bunch of raw beef suet that's going to do it. That's, let's see. Yes. And Becky's still on here. Yeah. So she's also a carnivore coach. And no two journeys are the same, and tailoring it to the individual is very, very important. Yeah, and let me know if that made sense, what I just said. So someone else wants to know about Let's Get Checked. So let me know if that made sense about what I did with Let's Get Checked. Check my gynecologist, that blood work. And then ran a bunch with Let's Get Checked. They were very, very similar ranges. Let's see. Is bloating from fat an actual problem or just annoying? I don't have access to raw fat such as suet, unfortunately, and I get bloated every day. I eat 150 to 200 grams of cold tallow. That could be gallbladder, to be honest with you. And again, I'm just guessing here because it's like just a very small amount of information about you, but that could be gallbladder that's causing you to bloat and not digest it. Could be low stomach acid. So that's, yeah, I don't know if that helps. And I, again, would recommend, she's got people from Sweden. She's got people in her keto group that she'll talk about that. So that could be causing the bloating. It's just a gallbladder issue or, yeah, I mean, those, and again, I'm just guessing. Someone wants to know, do you still take potassium? Yes, I still take potassium every day, potassium citrate. I am starting to add a little, excuse me, I'm shifting a little bit here. I'm going to have to get off in about 5 minutes because I got to go get my daughter. But yeah, I'm still doing the potassium, and I do want to start adding in a little avocado here and there because I like avocado, and my histamine issues are getting better and better and better. So I want to eventually cut that potassium out because it's always better if you can get it from food, I think. Let's see. Do you use apple cider vinegar? I don't. Some people love it and swear by it, and it's great. But for me, since I'm still working with my histamine, I don't want to mess with the apple cider vinegar because that can aggravate histamine issues for a lot of people. Let's see. And this is raw goose fat is my gem nowadays. So tender and yummy. I have not tried raw goose fat, to be honest with you. I bet that is good. And Laura says bacon is a great source of potassium. Yeah. So, but the thing about meat, and Dr. Barry and I actually talked about this on the interview I did with him, getting your potassium from meat, you know, where is it a pasture raised pig that you're eating from? Because the amount of potassium, the amount of minerals, the amount of you know, good stuff in that meat, vitamins, minerals, is going to depend on the soil and the grass they were eating from. So that's why I just did a video with my friend Niti. We talk about the importance of working with a local farmer and really buying that high quality meat. You know, not just like what it can do as far as providing nutrients, but also, you know, her experience eating grocery store meat was not good. And same thing with my friend Emily. So yeah, you can get potassium from meat, but it's got to be meat that was like pasture raised, eating soil that is actually nutrient dense. You know, I'm a huge proponent and work with White Oak Pastures, and I've been there. I've seen their soil. I see how they care for the land. I see how they care for the soil. But if you just go up to the grocery store and get a roast from the grocery store, it's not going to have the same potassium, you know, all that stuff, not magnesium, but it's not going to have the same amount of potassium if it has any at all, to be honest with you. So that's just something to take it into account, because I hear a lot of people saying, well, meat has all the potassium that you need, and meat has all the nutrients that you need. Well, where'd your meat come from? You know, where did it come from? That's important. That's really important. All right, guys, I'm going to stay on for like 2 more minutes. Any other questions? Any more questions? I'm happy to answer them. I'm pretty sure I got all this stuff that was on the questions from here was like about how to lose weight, how to lose weight. How do I lose weight? How do I lose weight? Like, you guys, don't you care about your health? Do you not care about your health? Is it all, and I get it. Like, I've spent most of my life like worried about my weight, worried about it. And I still slip back into that sometimes, but I've kind of just shifted my focus about to let it be about my health. You know, like, what we eat does influence our health, influences our brain. Like, I don't want to be on medication. Yeah, Here's one question. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Do you recommend Redmond electrolytes powder? I have a hard time to manage. I don't recommend anything with potassium chloride in it. So check the ingredients. Potassium. So we have to be careful with potassium because, and this is why I'm eventually going to add in those avocados instead of the potassium citrate, because we have to be careful with our kidneys. I've talked extensively about my kidneys and watching them and making sure they're healthy. And stuff like, you know, these powdered electrolyte powders, a lot of times they'll have potassium chloride and a lot of things that are toxic for the kidneys. So you got to be really, really careful with that stuff. And especially if you're doing keto, if you're doing carnivore or doing zero carb, you do, I think, have to mind those electrolytes. So I haven't looked at the Redmond's electrolyte powder. I don't really know what's in those. I know a lot of people are talking about that now on their Instagrams. And so I don't know, check the ingredients, make sure there's no chloride, potassium chloride. Thank you, Becky. I really appreciate you. Hugs and love back to you. I know so many cool people that I've met on Instagram and YouTube. Like, it's amazing. I'm just so grateful for this community. Oh, and one other little thing. I just had this idea, Steph and I were talking about it, about maybe doing like an August carnivore challenge. Like, I want to do something to step up my game. I'm thinking about doing like a video every day, maybe creating a Facebook where it's like an accountability group. It's not like a 75 hard where you have to be like, you know, but just like a few, like accountability challenge. And then I could get like Let's Get Checked and a couple of my other sponsors probably to donate. So there would be a winner, like maybe winner would get like $300 voucher for Let's Get Checked, or I don't know. So y'all let me know what you think about that, if you'd be into, and I'll talk about it more and more until August 30-day challenge. And it can be just, you know, stick to these 5 criteria, like every day do a resistance workout, every day meditate, of course, because I'm going to be doing it. Stick to, you know, whole foods. So if you're doing keto, no keto treats. If you're doing carnivore, we can do like no dairy. So yeah. Okay. Awesome. You guys are saying yes. If you're watching the replay, let me know on that too. But yeah, that was an idea. I thought it would be fun to like, you know, have more community, build more connections. Oh, sweet, Becky. Awesome. Yeah, I really want to do something like that and just make everything more accessible. And it'd be fun. Awesome. Cool. You guys are into it. Sweet. All right. It's 2:54. I'm supposed to be at my daughter's school at 3:00. It's only a mile from here, so I better go. But thank you guys for another awesome live stream. I'll be back on next week with another one, and then stay tuned for the video of my daughter, her Q&A about keto. I'm going to get that one out hopefully by the weekend because we're going to film it on Thursday. So thanks again, guys. Have a really super amazing rest of your Tuesday. Bye.